As painful as it is for me to say as a long-time fan of Yakuza, this was an unnecessary remake and an even more unnecessary expansion. Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties pulls in a multitude of assets and features from Infinite Wealth to recreate Okinawa, and while it is a visual delight, it doesn't really offer much for legacy players, and what it does feels lazy and uncomfortable. Controversies aside, although I'm still torn up about the change in model for Rikiya, it's a remake that didn't really need one considering the HD Remaster collection a few years ago, highlighting even further how much this game is riding on the coattails of copy-pasted content. That being said, Okinawa has never looked better. It was a joy seeing a town we've only seen in the series once compared to Kamurocho, and naturally, I'll always appreciate games that let you have a swim. Following on from the events of the second game, Kazuma Kiryu, having stepped down from his seat as 4th chairman of the Tojo clan, has moved to Okinawa with his adopted daughter Haruka to build an orphanage on the coast. However, the Yakuza influence is never far behind as corrupt governing officials wage political warfare with plans to seize the land and build a seaside resort. Naturally, Kiryu objects and finds himself embroiled in a conspiracy where he must fight for his home and his children. As far as new content goes, there's a new weapon-based fighting style, turning Kiryu into a veritable attaché case of offensive armaments designed for crowd control. It's clearly made for the purpose of the new Heisei Biker Girl side activity, which is tied into the main story's progression, forcing you to play it, and unfortunately, it's the same mode we saw in Infinite Wealth and Gaiden with a new lick of paint. Recruiting troops, assigning them to squads, and leveling them up by battling rival gangs in a multi-man brawl where you must secure enemy bases and defeat waves of enemies before the final boss appears. Standardized RPG roles like tank, DPS, and healers apply. I will say though, it did trigger some childhood whimsy customizing each squad's colours to match the Power Rangers. Next up, the Morning Glory Orphanage has expanded to a full-on business and hub of various minigames involving the children, and I honestly love it. Barring one shocking and racially tone-deaf piece of dialogue in Mitsuo's side quest. Seriously, the token black child comparing his skin colour to that of being constantly burnt in 2026? Abhorrent writing. Anyway, taking inspiration from Infinite Wealth's Animal Crossing style resort development and allowing you to cook, sew, fish, garden and play games with the children, it's a full-on cozy game experience, and considering the string of games that I haven't enjoyed and forced myself through for platinum trophies, it was just what I needed. You can even brush up on your knowledge and help the kids with their homework in multiple choice quizzes across a handful of subjects and complete item requests from the orphanage message board for extra money. It's a good little learner and well worth the effort. This being said, the returning minigames like pool, darts, bowling, baseball, golf and gambling all feel a lot easier and are the cornerstone of early game money grinds. With about a day's work of stocking up on points to spend on platinum plates and watches to sell at the pawn shop, blackjack and roulette being the best options with their single-use cheat items from finding locker keys scattered throughout the game, you can max out your stats with little time investment, making the game a cakewalk even on professional. I'd even go so far as to say that maxing out your stats doesn't feel all that necessary, save for 2 optional endgame boss encounters. As a side note, playing pool with both my brother and dad has become a bit of a ritual with each entry, and we enjoy taking our time playing against each opponent with the various rule sets, so my playtime was drawn out a little longer than needed. But it did mean I never had to worry about running out of cash. It was a bit weird seeing the equipment system relegated to an overtly garish phone customization mechanic reminiscent of early Y2K trends of dangly phone charms, tacky stickers and signal receivers. Watching Kiryu talk on his phone during cutscenes with your ugly accessories for the sake of stat boosts was again unnecessary. For all the campiness this series provides, we could have done without this one. If I hadn't played the base game 3 times over already from its original release and the later HD remaster, I would have enjoyed Kiwami 3 more, but unfortunately it doesn't really offer much for veteran players, and for better or worse hits the same narrative beats we've already seen. As such, it's hard to really recommend, and with Dark Ties included, it's even harder. Dark Ties relies almost exclusively on pre-existing assets. With one exclusive minigame and lacking any real incentive to enjoy playing as the villain of the main game, the same man who abandons morality to pal up with the abominable loudmouth and sexual predator Kanda, I struggled to understand why I should care about them. The game even asks you to redeem Kunda's public perception through the series' notorious completion list of minigame milestones and checklists without Kunda himself so much as lifting a finger. To quote the Olsens, no is a full sentence. It was interesting to explore Mine's origins and his motivations throughout the base game, and his fighting style is pretty fun, but it wasn't enough to be deemed a worthwhile experience. As for the exclusive minigame, Hell's Arena is fine. It's a parody of Squid Game, but again too similar to what we've already seen from Ishin and Like a Dragon's dungeons. It's a 3-floor tower climb where you recruit a modest selection of allies and lead them through hallways filled with traps, treasure chests and enemies with a final boss floor. While it is your main earner for this expansion, just a couple hours into playing I had already flicked the difficulty down to easy, rushing through enemies and collecting the bare minimum of collectibles to push through to the final boss and get it over and done with. Hell's Arena overplays its hand on how fun it actually is, especially after multiple runs. The too long didn't read is, newcomers will have plenty to enjoy with Kiwami 3 and the Orphanage is the best part, but for the rest of us, it's too much of the same too soon, and with Dark Ties offering a very uncomfortable insight into the main game's villain with recycled content, it's a tough sell for the series and probably the weakest yet.